Good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order for Tuesday, October the 15th for the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting. A little bit about the meeting today. In a minute, we're going to do a closed executive session, probably last somewhere around 15 minutes. When we come back, we'll have an invocation by Councilmember Kermali. We have a special guest tonight, our Fort Bend County Fair Queen. I'll introduce her, and she'll come down and lead us in the pledge to the nation's flag and the pledge to the Texas flag. And then following that is public comment. I think from looking out in the audience, we have a number of people that want to speak. There are no public hearings. So if you want to address one of the action items on the agenda, you'll need to do that during the public comment. I'll remind you when we get there again, we'd ask that you fill out a form. We've got a form there in the back. Name, address, and the action item agenda that you would like to speak on. All right, at this time, 2A, closed executive session. Closed executive session is authorized by 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with Section 551071, consultation with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on pending or contemplated litigation or client-attorney privilege. At this time, we're going to have a brief recess, and we're going to reconvene in the council dining room. We're going to go ahead and reconvene the meeting for Tuesday, October the 15th. First item on the agenda will be the invocation by Councilmember Nashad Karmali. If you'd please stand, please.
Please join me as I pray. Dear God, as we gather here for our city council meeting tonight, we're asking you for your guidance and your protection. Please keep our staff safe and healthy and give the city council members the wisdom to make good decisions. We also want to lift up our amazing first responders, watch over them, give them strength, and guide them in their important work that they do for our residents. May this meeting be filled with respect, understanding, and positive outcomes. Continue to guide us along the right path. In your name we pray, amen.
It's now my pleasure to invite Miss Sage Sowa. Sage, if you'd come up. Sage was crowned the 2024 Fort Bend County Fair Queen, and she will serve as the Fair Ambassador throughout this year. She's a junior at Stephen F. Austin High School and working toward her Gold Award in Girl Scouts, along with her Lone Star degree in FFA. She plans on attending Texas A&M University to become a veterinarian. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Sage Sowa. Sage.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out tonight. Being the Fort Bend County Fair Queen, it has given me a role as an ambassador, and I'm so excited for this next 2024 to 2025 year to serve. It's not only just a role, but it comes with the scholarship to go to Texas A&M and to fulfill my dreams and to be an ambassador. So I'm so excited, and now I will lead y'all in the pledges. Please face the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now please face the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Sage, if you'd, I think you've got some guests that are here with you. If you'd like to introduce them and then bring them down and we'll get a picture. So.
I have my wonderful chaperone, Miss Desiree Zepeda. From the Fort Bend County Fair Queen Committee. She's here with me tonight. I have my mom and my dad, one of my biggest supporters. Could not do it without them.
Council members, you want to come down? I think we're a little bit over capacity. The cane room is open for overflow. We've got to keep the aisles clear at the back so that we can have exits that are clear. So if I could get some of the people in the back to move over to the cane room, You'll be able to see it over there. If you want to come over and speak, we'll bring you back over. You're welcome to sit down. There's seats in the front. You're welcome to sit in the front. But we got to keep the aisles clear. Okay? Let everybody get settled. We have a special recognition tonight. The Robo Sapiens Robotic Team First Tech Challenge, and they have some achievements. I'm going to ask them, I'm going to call them by name. The coach, Rajiv Mehta. Rajiv, you come down, please. Kavish Mehta. Arav Mehta, Neil Heblekar, Orion Ganglani, Arav Garg, Maniv Panapala, Adi Paluru, Mashir Shah, and Deshaun Ahmadi. Yeah, come on. Rajiv, I believe you're going to introduce the topic for us and tell us about the achievement.
Good afternoon, Mayor Mr. Zimmerman, esteemed member of the City Council, the Mayor's office, and the honored guest. Thank you for inviting us here for today to celebrate the achievement of our robotics team. To give a quick background, the Robo Sapiens team was established in 2018, and this is our 7th year participating in FIRST Robotics. So FIRST is the world's largest STEM and robotics organization with over 700,000 youth participating each year. This team is the second set of batch, and many of our seniors have graduated last year, with several out of them, the several members being admitted to the prestigious colleges like MIT, Rice, Cornell, and UT Austin. The last few seasons have been truly remarkable for the team, and we qualified for the World Championship in 2022 and 2023 out of 8,000 teams in the world. And in 2024, we participated in the state championship and stood in top 20. With our 7-year journey, we have won multiple prestigious awards, including the Inspire Think Control Awards. Through hard work, dedication, and the passion for innovation, we achieved the outstanding success, and our team not only excelled in the competition, but also grew tremendously in their skills and teamwork. All this success and these wins are not just for the trophies. They were about the journey and the lesson learned along the way in problem solving and the team collaboration. Beyond our achievement on the field, the team made significant strides in community outreach in Sugar Land area. We organized the workshop and demonstration at local school as well as the community events, inspiring younger students to explore the STEM fields. Our members volunteered their time to mentor and tutor and fostering a love for robotics and engineering in the next generation. Our goal for this year is to spread the impact to 1,500 people on STEM and robotics through 20 to 25 events. We continuously seek local sponsors and have partnered with local businesses and the organization to host community events showcasing the practical application of robotics in everyday life. These efforts not only raised awareness, but also strengthened our community bonds and highlighted the importance of collaboration and innovation in Sugar Land community. I also want to thank and extend my deepest gratitude to all the parents, mentors, and sponsors who supported us throughout the season. And lastly, I would like to thank the mayor's office and staff member for recognizing our achievements. Your support means a lot to the team and motivates the team to aim even higher in the future. We are excited about the upcoming season and new challenges it will bring with the continued support of our community. I'm confident that we will achieve even greater heights. Thank you once again for this honor, and we look forward for making Sugar Land proud in the seasons to come. Thank you.
And we have for all of you the Citizen Achievement Award presented to the Robo-Sapiens First Tech Challenge Team. We proudly recognize Robo-Sapiens for their outstanding accomplishments in the field of robotics, particularly their remarkable journey to the state championship for the First Tech Challenge, held on March 22nd, 23rd in Belton, Texas. This achievement was the culmination of their impressive performance at the Texas East Regional Championship on February the 24th. Throughout the competitive season, Robo-Sapiens demonstrated excellence and innovation, emerging as the winning alliance team captain at the Houston League Tournament. At the Houston Regional Championship, the team secured the Control Award and the third place Inspire Award, which enabled them to advance to the state championship. There, the award-winning Robo-Sapiens achieved a commendable 15th place out of 36 teams for their division. Among 671 FTC teams in Texas, only 72 qualified for the state championship, with Robo-Sapiens ranking among the top 20. A true testament to their hard work, ingenuity, and commitment to excellence. We celebrate you all for your exceptional achievements and for representing our community with distinction. Their dedication to robotics and teamwork has set a high standard for future competitors. And thank you, Rajit, for being the coach. And now, let me present you with this certificate. I'm gonna pick the guy in the middle. And then I'd ask you to come up here this way. Council members, you want to stand on the dais? We'll stand on the dais and we'll get a picture. A little bit about public comment. I think there's a number of you that have signed up. I understand that there have been 2 of you that have given up your time in order for one person to have an additional 6 minutes. So everybody gets 3 minutes. There's no limit to the number of people. We'd ask that everyone be respectful. We're going to start, Linda, you have. Okay.
There's cards in there, but they're the ones who gave it.
And which one's gay?
This one is the one who gets to speak.
And which one out of these is all answered? Oh, they're already in here. Okay. Yeah. Would Mr. Zeba Matawala please come to the podium? Miss Zeba.
Hello, my name is Zeba Motiwala. I'm a 20-year-old student at the University of Houston studying psychology, and I've been a lifelong resident of Sugar Land. For all 20 years, I have attended the Alston Mosque, which has become a second home for me. Over the years, I have grown deeply connected to this mosque, both as a member of the community and as a Sunday school teacher for the past 3 years. Before teaching, I was a Sunday school student, so my journey with this mosque has been long and meaningful. Attending the Alston Mosque has provided me with a strong sense of purpose, a welcoming community where I can practice my faith, and lifelong friends who I trust. 10 years ago, when we moved to this new location, my friends and I were among the first to walk through the building, which has since then become the Alston Mosque. We used to guess how long it would take to be fully constructed, not realizing it would take this long. As the mosque grew, so did we. We even envisioned celebrating our Islamic marriages here, underscoring how important this mosque is to us. Due to the construction delays, one of my friends who grew up with me recently had her Islamic marriage, but was unable to hold it at the mosque because of the limited space. This is a disappointment as the mosque holds a special significance to us all. The Alston Mosque has provided me with numerous opportunities to gain and share knowledge about my faith. We host events and religious gatherings that bring the community together, allowing us to learn and pass on our faith to future generations. The events and congregations I attended growing up were welcoming and beneficial, not just spiritually, but also in providing practical knowledge. Just as my peers supported me in this sacred place, I hope to teach the future generations, my siblings, my friends, and my future children, so they too can learn about their faith. But due to the construction delays, many of the activities I once participated in have been put on hold, and today's children are missing out on those experiences. It's disheartening and it's unfair to them. If we are allowed to complete the mosque's construction, many of the issues currently affecting the surrounding area can be resolved, and we can continue to serve our community. As a Sunday school teacher, I strive to provide the best experience for my students, as any teacher would. However, with the limited space we have, we are unable to offer them the quality of education they deserve. The noise from class to class creates a disruptive learning environment, making it difficult for the students to focus. I respectfully ask for your support in allowing us to continue the mosque's construction. This will not only help us address the affecting issues of our neighbors, but also ensure that our community can thrive and that the future generations can benefit from the same experiences that shaped me. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Motiwala. If I could, we won't have any outbursts from the public. We'll have people come up. It'll be a lot more efficient meeting if we can dispense with the clapping. Our next guest is Asfab Navawala.
Mayor Zimmerman and council members, good evening. My name is Aswad Nabiwala. I go by Noor. I currently serve on the board of directors of the Alston Road Mosque. My address is 14826 Hemlock Bridge Court, Sugar Land, Texas 77498. Alongside working full-time as an owner of an import business, I'm a volunteer at the mosque. It has been 14 months to date since our cup was tabled. These 14 long months have been very challenging for our congregation, to say the least. I also want to point out that our traffic impact analysis, the TIA, took over 7 months. It swelled from 17-page document to a 316-page long document. After the 5 revisions required to satisfy the city engineer's questions and to address the concerns of the HOA. On the upside though, during these 14 months, we have received support from both Muslims and non-Muslims, neighbors and attendees, community leaders and elected officials. We have met with neighbors during these 14 months and found them very welcoming with open arms. You know, if you were a Muslim growing up in the 90s, then at school, you were an American, but at home, you were a Muslim. At the mosque, you were a Muslim, but at the park, you were an American. We wanted to change that. We want to change this experience of living in 2 parallel worlds. We wanted our children to be both American and Muslim, and confident in their identity as American Muslims, wherever they are. With that focus in mind, we bought this property in 2014 and launched a seminary program in 2018. Our 6-year program trains the students to become well-rounded scholars of Islam, with most of them earning their high school diplomas as well as their associate degrees, usually graduating at the age of 19. This dual education inspires them to be committed to creating a better society. Your vote today in favor of the CUP will create essential educational facilities for these students, and in turn, more comfortable environments for them to thrive as proud American Muslims. This decision will not only strengthen our community, but also embrace diversity and pave the way for a brighter, more inclusive future for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Navawala. Again, please refrain from clapping. Our next guest is Caleb Kirkpatrick. Caleb.
Good afternoon. My name is Caleb Kirkpatrick, and I have a couple clarifying questions on agenda item J. The item J says consideration of an action on acceptance of a donation from the Thin Blue Line Foundation for the purchase of uniform accessories for the police department. I feel that this is worded extremely vaguely, and I have no idea how big the donation is. What exactly uniform accessories they mean by this? Outside, I spoke to one of the police officers, and I asked, what could they mean by uniform accessories? And even he had no idea. I feel like it's worded extremely vaguely, and as somebody who is interested in local government and how it works and the amount of money that goes into the city, I'm interested on how much money that the donation is, how many donations have this foundation given the city in the past, if they were accepted, if they weren't accepted, and I'm interested on what exactly it would be spent on. If you look on the agenda, every other thing has at least 3 or 4 lines or multiple sentences explaining what exactly, how much money, or more in-depth explanations, except this item. So I'm very interested on why it's so slim and so small, and how much money would be going into it, and everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kirkpatrick. Staff can respond to you at a later time. Thank you. Our next guest is Annie Chauhan.
Good evening, Mayor Zimmerman and members of the City Council. My name is Annie Uddin Chauhan, and I'm an educator at Harmony School of Excellence located on West Airport. Being born and raised in Sugar Land, I have always had a deep passion for my city and the children. I work closely with the children in our community of all religions. Recently, I had one of my students, Ibrahim, who also attends the Alston Mosque, like myself, asked me, Ms. Chauhan, why isn't the government allowing the mosque to make a new building? I froze at this as I pondered how to address this question. A mosque is more than a religious establishment. It is where a community gathers and children like Ibrahim come together to be a part of something greater. I'm here today not only as a representative of our mosque, but as an advocate for our children who rely on the space for their spiritual, educational, and social development. We are seeking approval for the conditional U.S. permit to build a new facility that will allow us to better serve the needs of our community. But tonight, I specifically want to focus on the heart of why this project is so important, the children. As an educator, I know firsthand the profound impact a nurturing safe space can have on a child's development. Our current mosque is simply not equipped to meet the needs of the children who attend. We need more space for youth programs, after-school activities, and community building initiatives that help guide our young children. These children are the future of our community, and they need more than just a physical space. They need role models and opportunities to learn how to be responsible, engaged citizens. As adults, we have the opportunity to model that behavior for them by showing how we can resolve conflicts, work through our differences, and build something better together. What better way to demonstrate the values we want to instill in our children than by navigating this process with open minds and open hearts? In the same way that we teach our kids the importance of being inclusive, respectful, and compassionate, we too should lead by example. The concerns raised by the HOA are not obstacles, they are opportunities for us to practice the very values we want our children to learn: cooperation, understanding, and compromise. Our goal is not just to build a mosque, it's to build a place that reflects the values of inclusivity, peace, and community engagement. We want the next generation to see what we as adults are capable of working together, even when we don't always agree, to create something that benefits everyone. We have compromised on many points throughout this process because we believe in the importance of building a strong, harmonious relationship with our neighbors, but we cannot ignore the pressing need for this new facility, especially for the sake of the children. These youth programs are not just about keeping kids occupied, they're about giving them a space to learn, grow, and contribute positively to the community. Our mosque will help shape the future leaders of this community. It will provide a safe haven for children to learn about respect, understanding, and service to others. This is not just a project for the Muslim community, it is a project for the entire neighborhood, for all of us who care about fostering a bright future for the next generation. In closing, I ask the City Council to consider the long-term benefits of this project, not just for the children of our mosque, but for the entire community. This is an opportunity for us to come together, work through our difference, and build something meaningful for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johan.
Thank you so much.
Our next guest is Tanzila Aziz.
Good evening, Mayor Zimmerman and council members. My name is Tanzila Aziz. I'm an educator by profession, and I serve as the Alston Mosque's outreach coordinator. I'd like to address some of the concerns that will be raised today, particularly by the Barrington Place residents, perhaps even the HOA president, Mr. Ken Linger. A year ago, when you had tabled the decision, I was here, and you had said that the mosque should work together with the HOA, and I thought, you know what? No big deal, we can do this. We can collaborate together. We can come to resolutions peacefully, and through it all, we would make friends. And as the outreach coordinator for the Alston Mosque, I, along with the Alston Mosque committee members, spent over a year working diligently to engage with the HOA, seeking positive and collaborative resolutions. Throughout this time, we have made every effort to address concerns about traffic, noise, lighting, and especially the wall, as they would like to call it, in good faith, offering thoughtful compromises. However, despite all of our efforts, it became evident early on that Mr. Ken Linger, the HOA president, had already made up his mind. He had been opposed to the mosque from the very beginning and had remained unwilling to engage in a constructive dialogue. While we have tried to navigate his personality, which can be complex, and keep the lines of communication open, he hasn't shown much openness to the mosque's presence in the neighborhood. But I do want to stand here and I do want to say one thing, and you see all the people that are in this room. We're here to stay. The mosque is not going anywhere. This establishment represents the blood, sweat, and tears of so many people here. Members of our congregation and supporters who have really poured their hearts, their time into making this a reality. We have invested in creating a place where families can gather, youth can grow, and our community can thrive. Our request for this conditional use permit is not just about a building. It's about the people, the programs, and the service we provide to our community. We are committed to being good neighbors, ensuring that our presence is harmonious and beneficial to the surrounding area. But I don't think we can be deterred by the opposition of one individual or a few residents, a handful of residents who refuse to see the impact that this mosque will really truly have. I ask the council to really recognize the tireless work that these people have put in, the dedication that they've put in. There's a lot of dedication that goes in. There are hundreds, thousands of volunteers that work day and night to make this happen. So please do consider in granting the conditional use permit for our mosque. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Zia Basif.
Hello, everyone. My name is Zia Basif. I've been a resident of Barrington Place for almost 12 years now. I'm here to speak on behalf of Alston Mosque. I can say that as a single dad. I've raised 2 of my children, and this mosque has been a huge blessing for me and my children. My children have been going to this mosque regularly since the day it opened. It has helped my children tremendously stay focused in their education and their daily lives. This mosque is not just a place of worship, it is a community center for our adults and our children. It provides counseling and education for our children and our adults. And all I would like to say is I would much rather have my children go to the mosque community center instead of going to some other hangouts and get involved in any kind of illegal activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Musafar Vora.
Good evening, honorable city council members, respected city staff and first responders, and all the attendees. As most of you know me, my name is Muzaffar Vora, and I've been the resident in the same area for 20 plus years, including some years in the Barrington Place as a resident of the area. I understand the concern of the people who live around the mosque. But as a community leader, I also deeply understand the concern of members of the mosque. They have taken all the right steps to get this project approved. They applied for a proper permit. The planning and the zoning committee unanimously approved the permit. One of the main issues was the parking, I believe, around the mosque, but in the new proposal on the mosque, they have inside 260 plus parking proposed. They are willing to work with the neighbors and local law enforcement to make sure no one is inconvenienced. See them, these are simple, nice, kind, honest, hardworking people who have taken the right step to this project approved. They are doing everything they can work with the neighbors and all the community around them. Please work with them to approve this project. After completion, believe me, this mall will be a beautiful architecture. Like, you will love it, believe me, I see the plans. And I have a request to honorable city council member to approve permit and send a message to the Muslim community. We have justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Hayish Sheikh. Did I pronounce it right?
Hi, good evening, everyone, Mr. Mayor and council members. My name is Haris Sheikh. I live in Barrington community, and I'm a resident of this area, and I'm speaking today to support the CUP. My kids go to Elston Mosque for Sunday school, and my oldest one volunteers at the different events. My kids deserve a better place to pray, a better place to attend Sunday school, a better place for their activities. They are seeking mutual respect and mutual attention on their matters, hoping to have a new building. With the new building, they will have dedicated spaces, so they don't have to eat in the rain, hot weather, or humidity. I don't know where in the Fort Bend people go through these circumstances for years. Once my son hold my hand and said, "Dad, let's go to our neighbors and talk if they have any issues or they got annoyed by us." So we went. Many of neighbors, I just live really next to the mosque, like a couple of houses down. Many of neighbors said, "We have no problem, dear kid. We got kids too. They make noises." One neighbor said, "Yes, in the beginning we saw the noise, but we are sure once you have a new building, noises will be inside and the speakers as well." So my son said, "Dad, what's the issue then?" In my heart, I was hoping the city will approve. And, thinking of that, I respond him, it shouldn't be any issue. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sheikh. Our next guest is Kenneth Langer. Kenneth?
Hello, my name's Kenneth Langer. I'm the president of the Barrington Place HOA. I had a totally different presentation ready, but after reading the agenda, there are items included in the CUP for the very first time that almost leave me speechless, almost. I was told these items would never be part of the CUP. Nothing would be put in writing. Nothing would be signed by a person with authority, as is done on September 26, 2024 in Exhibit G. The 8-foot wall, wood wall, is now masonry. The wall is now located entirely on their property. The cost of the wall falls on the CUP proponents. The wall maintenance cost is not shared with their neighbors, but now falls on the CUP proponents. There was a particular concern one homeowner had that was addressed as to what type of wall they would have on October 9th. Some matters I still don't see addressed. Are both sides of the wall covered in stucco? Are there doors and openings in the wall? There's a language inconsistency in parts of the CUP. Exhibit A of the CUP still shows the words on the top of the exhibit, wood fence along the east and north sides, same thing on Exhibit F. Phase 1 is also 5 years, and we don't know the order of the development and the date of the wall construction and when it will be commenced and build out. Could be up to 5 years, and if we go, there's difficulty with parking on the street at this point in time. There's insufficient parking that exists on site, and the parking that will be even further disrupted by items that are such as supplies, equipment, worker vehicles that will lead to vehicles spreading out on the street. I recognize that City Council can't sit on this matter forever. It must consider all sides. The CUP proponents' position, the residential neighbors' concerns, existing codes and ordinances, and the city's outlook at large. Several speakers are going to be appearing from Barrington Place who want to express their individual concerns about the short-term and long-term impacts on the character of the neighborhood, and I ask that you hear those, especially on Alston Road. And in speaking of Alston Road, I do want to just segue. We had many down street signs after the hurricane, especially near the crosswalks and the school zones. And I want to thank the city and the workers for reinstalling those signs, putting them back up, and the cleanup work that they did in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. Our next guest is Fatima Khan. Good evening.
Hello, good afternoon. Esteemed members of Sugar Land City Council, respected Mayor Zimmerman, thank you for listening to us today. My name is Fatima Khan, and my husband Amir Chaudhry and my children join me today in support of our Alston Mosque. I wanted to start off with saying that I have been a resident, and our children have been a resident of Sugar Land for the last 24 years. My husband and I are both veterinarians who live in Sugar Land, have raised our children in Sugar Land, and are continuing to let them raise in our community with understanding and respect. We both own our small veterinary practice also in Sugar Land, and Sugar Land is actually home. A big part of our life is the Alston Mosque, which holds significant purpose for families in our community. It serves as a spiritual center, a place of education, a space to learn from one another, and a hub for social service. My family first entered this mosque when it was located in Stafford decades ago. My family first entered this area with our eldest, who was just an infant at that time. Now, as my family continues to pass through the mosque doors in Alston location, we have so many happy memories of recollection and so many more that we can hopefully look forward to. I stand here to express my unwavering support for the construction of the Alston Mosque further in our neighborhood. We have been committed to the mosque for over 20 years. It has shaped the foundation of my children's future. My son Ali, who's sitting back here with us too, learned his first lessons in community service here. This inspired him to do community service in actually Sugarland Community Health Clinics and has helped him to pursue a career in medicine forward. My daughters, Iman and Danya, who also joined me, helped with the Mosque Children events and now volunteer with special needs children programs in Sugarland. A new building must be established to build a more inclusive future where we can come together and share experiences without hardships. We are a nonprofit organization that has served the community. Our volunteers and our donors volunteering our time and resources for many years to build this. They're all here today, as you can see, with the simple purpose of saying that we just want to stay connected and enjoy our small events. Together, we can create a space that celebrates and fosters a sense of belonging to Sugarland. Thank you, Sugarland City leadership, to allowing us to work with the HOA to address these concerns.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Our next guest is Akib Navawala.
Honorable Mayor and respected members of the council members, good evening. My name is Akib Naviwala, and I will be speaking today in favor of the CUP for Alston Road Mosque. I'm a resident of Sugarland and have been a resident since middle school when I enrolled at Macario Garcia Middle School. Moved to Austin for a couple of years for college, and after that I've made my way back to the great city of Sugarland, which I call home, and my 16-year-old daughter, Safa, which also calls home as well. Since the last time the CUP was tabled, in the past 14 months, it has provided us with an opportunity to meet the residents of the neighborhood, the HOA board, and different members surrounding the neighborhood. This has given us the opportunity to listen to them, talk to them, and address their concerns and questions that we can. In order to achieve this, we've held multiple open houses at the mosque for the community members to come visit us, view our facility, address any questions we can do. We have listened to them and listened to the neighbors and have updated our plans to reflect the actions we're taking. It's all documented. They wanted an 8-foot fence. We gave them an 8-foot masonry wall with stucco on both sides of the wall, which will be built in phase 1 of the project. They complained about the flooding, but we are planning to build an underground water detention system to address the flooding issues. They compared our lights to the lights of Times Square. We agreed to remove the lights and reduce them from our plans, and have agreed to also take the initial, reduce the light bulb to 0-inch candlelight. They wanted no parking on Alston Road. We have agreed. They wanted a turning lane on Alston Road. We have agreed. They requested to lower the minaret. We have agreed. They requested us to reduce the size of our footprint in our building. We have agreed. They wanted us to create additional parkings. Guess what? We have agreed. We aren't trying to build the Great Wall of China that will take 10 years. It's a straightforward project with 2 phases, each phase consisting of 6 to 7 months with the weather permitting. We already have electricity on site, so there will be no generators causing disturbance to our neighbors. We currently have 92 plus or somewhere around that number of parking spaces. So all our crew members and the material vehicles coming in will be parked on site. The building will elevate the neighborhood and add value to Sugarland. I don't anticipate any adverse impacts to the neighborhood, as multiple TIA studies reflected to no impact on traffic at all. In the end, I would request the mayor and council members to vote with their heart in favor of the CUP and be part of history as we construct the new building for House of God in Sugarland. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Naviwala.
Thanks.
Our next guest is Hamid Russell.
Hello and greetings to Mayor Zimmerman and everyone in the audience. Thank you for giving us this time. My name is Ahmed Russell and I've lived in the area since 2018. I currently reside at 9402 Sinot Road. I came to the area in 2018 for the seminary program offered at our mosque. After 5 years of hard work, I graduated and was hired as a teacher to help the next generation. However, things are very challenging for the students due to lack of space and facilities, which is why we need to expand. For example, we only have 3 classrooms, but we serve 6 grade levels, forcing us to set up folding tables in our prayer area as a makeshift classroom. The students also have to eat outside in the Texas heat because we do not have proper dining facilities. For 14 months, the mosque has tried to comply with all of the HOA's requests. We agreed to expand parking. We agreed to eliminate 2 buildings altogether. We agreed to relocate the basketball court. We agreed to lower the minaret, even though right next door there's a church with a high cross, and down the road there's a high statue of a Hindu and a Buddhist god. We even agreed to build a sound-reducing wall outside the properties, but do any other religious buildings in the area have to have a sound-reducing wall on them? And then they come up and ask stupid questions about this sound-reducing wall as a way to waste time. The issue is not about any negative impact on the neighborhood. For a year and a half, we have agreed to all of their conditions while they stalled. This is about our ability to help the community through the free education that we provide to the children and our general outreach. We serve a weekly meal at no cost, feeding 200 people every week. And during the month of Ramadan, our holy month, we offer daily meals at the time of breaking the fast. During the power outages following Hurricane Beryl, we sheltered and fed hundreds. We donated pallets of water and served 300 meals for lunch and dinner every day. We provided power, and some people even were able to come in to log into their work during this time when they had no power at home. So we clearly are not hurting anybody. We are helping our community. Please approve this expansion and bring an end to this prolonged, dragged out, and stalled fight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our next guest is Hazafa Menon.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Zimmerman, honorable council members, and all distinguished guests present today. My name is Ahmed Huzaifa Memon, and I have been a long-time attendee at the Alston Road Mosque, where I currently serve as an instructor. I'm also pursuing my undergraduate degree at the University of Houston. This mosque has played a significant role in my personal and spiritual development. I was born at the Methodist Sugar Land Hospital, and from a very young age, I've been attending congregations at Faizani Medina at its prior locations. My father would bring me and my brother in just car seats when we were just very young. When the mosque moved to its current location, Sugar Land and Alston Road, only 3 minutes from my home in Ashford Lakes, it became an even more vital part of my life and the community around us. I had the privilege of studying for 5 years at the Islamic seminary here, where I earned my Islamic scholar degree. Now, as an alumnus and instructor at the very seminary where I've studied, I've seen how this mosque continues to shape the lives of countless students and families in the community. In a pluralistic society like ours, the ability of faith groups to worship, gather, and access faith-based services is critical. For American Muslims, the mosque or Islamic center serves as this vital space. Mosques provide not only place for daily and Friday congregational prayers, but also for Eid worship services, Ramadan iftars, nightly prayers. Additionally, they offer educational services, social services, community gatherings, and social clubs for youth and adults alike. More importantly, a study has been shown that mosques benefit the broader society. A 2016 poll found that frequent mosque attendance is linked to higher levels of civic engagement, and that Muslims with stronger religious identities are more likely to have strong American identities. Mosques, therefore, contribute positively to democracy and civic participation. While we are grateful for the space we have, it's no longer entirely sufficient for our needs. We run 6 full-time classes 6 days a week, many of which are held in temporary areas of the mosque rather than in proper classrooms. This setup, while admirable, isn't ideal for providing the focused learning environment our students deserve. Expanding the mosque will allow us to serve our community, better enhance the educational experience, and continue our services without inconveniencing our neighbors. This project will ensure that we maintain peace and harmony in the neighborhood while delivering the resources and support our community relies on. I am deeply appreciative of the support and opportunities that the City of Sugar Land has provided us. It is with this gratitude that I kindly request your support in making this expansion to the CUP a reality. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Our next guest is Asiba Kassan.
Good evening, Mayor Zimmerman and council members. Thank you for your time today. My name is Asia Naman Kassam. I'm 20 years old and have been born and raised in Sugar Land, Texas. And just as long, I've been part of the Alston Mosque community. And I'm now also a graduate student at the University of Houston studying speech-language pathology so that I may serve the City of Sugar Land in any capacity that I can. I've had the privilege of attending this mosque since I was really young and has vastly shaped my Muslim American identity. Not only did the mosque act as a center for spiritual growth, but it provided me and my siblings a place to build community and create lifelong friendships. The Alston Mosque has provided us with youth programs, and through these programs, I've been able to honor my faith and integrate into American culture. The mosque has played a pivotal role in empowering me to contribute to the broader American society, whether that was through character building lessons I learned at the mosque or being involved in social justice efforts, like advocating for refugees and those less fortunate than me. The Alston Mosque is a community that looks out for each other. The doors of the mosque are always open as a shelter facility whenever a natural disaster has hit Sugar Land, just as recently Hurricane Beryl. I grew up attending the Sunday school at the mosque, and today I serve as a special education teacher for the school. This is a small fraction of how I'd like to give back to the community since the mosque has given me so much. The full construction of the mosque will properly allow us to attend, and especially the youth, to have more space inside the facility and provide ample space for these much-needed programs and resources. As you know, youth programs are essential to fostering strong community-oriented citizens. Our current facilities are not adequately equipped to meet the needs of community members with disabilities. In school, the kids would always complain about having to eat in the heat and wanting a space so that they could just eat comfortably and learn comfortably. The new construction includes updates to ensure that everyone, regardless of physical ability, like the students I teach, to have full and comfortable access to the mosque. I currently urge you to consider allowing us to move forward with this important project so we can meet these needs and make a lasting impact in the community. I hope you consider granting the Alston Mosque with the CUP. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Kassan. Our next guest is Ayesha Khan.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, distinguished council members, and members of the community. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to speak today about a matter that is very close to our hearts, the need for a construction of a mosque in our community. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Ayesha Khan. I've been resident of Sugar Land since January 2021. I'm a certified financial counselor and loan underwriter with a federally recognized institution. I have had the privilege of volunteering as a speaker offering financial literacy education to youth and new immigrants from diverse faiths. Additionally, I have participated in numerous gatherings aimed at educating individuals and promoting financial awareness. But today I'm here as a member of this community who longs for a place that feels like home, a place that brings us together when we need it the most. For someone like me who has no family nearby, the mosque is more than just a place of worship. It is where I find sense of belonging, where I connect with others who share my faith, and my children form bonds and friendships that help fill the void left by our loved ones far away. Especially on special occasions like Eid and Ramadan, when our heart aches with homesickness, the mosque becomes a source of comfort and solace. A mosque isn't just a building where we gather to pray. It's a place where our kids learn their faith, their values, and how to be good members of the society. Now let me tell you a bit about the struggle we face as food volunteers. We try our best to serve food to those who are in need and celebrate our religious events. But with our limited space, we have to do this outside. Imagine serving meals in the winter cold or under the summer sun. Trust me, it's no picnic. On Eid mornings, we gather for prayer, all dressed up in our best clothes, and right after, it's straight to the food service line. And let's just say that standing in the scorching heat, I've had my fair share of sunburns and headaches. Nothing like a side of heat stroke to go with your Eid celebration. We genuinely believe that building a larger mosque will not only benefit our community, but also improve our relationship with our neighbors. With a bigger space, we will no longer need to accommodate people outside, and all our activities will be confined within the mosque building. We want to create a space that is welcoming for everyone, a mosque that serves the need of our community and that our neighbors can be proud of too. We believe that with your support, Mr. Mayor, we can make this vision a reality. Together, we can build something that brings people together, strengthens our bonds, and creates a harmonious environment for all. Thank you for your time, and we sincerely hope you will consider our request. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Khan. Our next guest is Aya Abdullah.
My name is Ayat Ahmed, and I yield my time to Ms. Lubab Abdullah.
Our next guest is Saeed.
Good evening. My name is Syed Ali, and I'm a resident of Barrington Place for over 6 years. I am 20 years old. I went to Dulles High School and grew up in the U.S. At school, I faced many challenges, such as the feeling of not being accepted. The mosque allowed me to feel at home. The mosque is a place where I can freely practice my religion and feel at peace. I have learned many things from the mosque, from how to be kind and treat others with respect. The mosque has allowed me to find my purpose of life. It has also saved me from depression many times. I have made many friendships from the mosque and have always been looking forward to the construction of the mosque, as we've had many troubles with space, and this approval will help us to solve this issue. It will also allow us to spend more time inside and not be outside in the heat, which will help the neighboring neighbors with the noise. I am not the only one who's had a positive experience with the mosque. Many of my friends would say the same and have a similar story to say. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next guest is Lubabat Abdullah, and there have been several people that have yielded their time so that you will have 12 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Lubaba Abdullah, and I am an attorney representing Faizan-e Medina Masjid. I've had the privilege of working with them now for the last 4 months. But as I'm here speaking on behalf of Faizan-e Medina, I wanted to just, folks who are here on behalf of Faizan-e Medina, could just wave at the council members, just so you can sort of see that not everyone is speaking, but that everyone did come out in support. So I am representing Faizan-e Medina Masjid at 13130 Alston Road, and we are here requesting a residential proximity conditional use permit for our place of worship. According to the staff report that was submitted earlier this week, this property is and has always been zoned B1, which is Neighborhood Business District, and is identified in the City of Sugar Land's future land use plan as neighborhood, commercial, and services. And this category is meant to consist of conventional car-oriented retail and services. I did have to look up what that was, because I was like, what does that mean? Again, we had our first public hearing exactly 15 months ago here at City Council on August 15th, 2023, and some of our neighbors came and brought up concerns around lighting, around noise, around flooding, around the impacts of traffic, and the character of the masjid. And the masjid was told that their CUP was going to be tabled, and for them to go and work with their HOA and work with their neighbors to come to an agreement. And I will not be getting into the legality of that, but instead we'll focus on what the masjid has done. That next masjid, the masjid representatives met with some of the wonderful staff members here at the City of Sugar Land, and I do have to give them total accord. They are amazing. They've been amazing to work with throughout this span, this 2 years that we've been working with them to get this CUP passed, as well as the Barrington Place Homeowners Association. And the main issues were, again, the same ones that were listed above. So I wanted to take those issues individually and see what the masjid has done and or has agreed to do. Lighting. So under the Planning and Zoning Committee, when they unanimously approved the permit a year and a half ago, they required the masjid to have a 0-foot candle illumination at the property line, and that all exterior lighting should be full cut-off fixtures, meaning that the light from the masjid would not go into any of our neighbors' homes, nor into their backyards, as well as no light would go vertically, meaning that we would not be increasing the light pollution that we have here in the City of Sugar Land. So we have taken care of the light issue. The second issue is noise. And since there's no community space in our existing 4,000 square foot house, because that's literally what this is. When the masjid purchased this property in 2014, it was a house. They remodeled it, and they have now outgrown that significantly. And so they need to have this construction so that there is space for their community to gather inside, so that they can have community gatherings, meals, breaking their fast in Ramadan, to have Eid prayers, or just to even hang out. With the new construction, there will be ample space for meals and events to be inside of the masjid, removing the majority of the noise component. The conditional use permit also has a condition that there be no outdoor speakers, again, lowering the noise on our neighbors. And the masjid has moved the basketball court that is open to everyone away from the residences near the church that is on the other side of the property. And again, the masjid will be constructing an 8-foot masonry wall that will reduce noise pollution by an estimated additional 46 decibels. The next issue that was raised was flooding. The masjid has worked with the City Public Works and Engineering Department to evaluate the drainage. And again, per their staff report, they've confirmed that the existing storm sewer system is working, and in addition, there will be on-site in-ground detention basin to, again, ensure that there is no flooding of the masjid or of any of our neighboring properties or any of our neighbors. The fourth issue that has been brought up multiple times has been traffic. The masjid has submitted and had their traffic impact analysis submitted to the city almost 2 years ago on October 27th, 2022. The masjid has gone through about 6 drafts of that TIA, with 4 of those being official submissions, and it was finally accepted and concurred with on June 5th of 2024. The TIA found that impacts of the proposed development are minimal, and no improvements were recommended by the TIA. CIA. Despite that, the masjid going above and beyond is incorporating a left turn lane into the masjid to ensure that there's minimal disruption on Alston Road, especially on any nights where they might have bigger events. Also, to make things on our neighbors, the code requires 141 parking spaces. The masjid has almost doubled that, coming in at 275 parking spaces, almost double, to ensure that they are not a nuisance to their neighbors. And lastly was the character of the neighborhood. The masjid has been on this property since 2014, and the goal of Faizan-e Medina is not to become a mega masjid like Maryam Masjid, but the goal is to cater to a niche community, and their focus is on educating youth through their free seminary. They seek to provide a safe, nurturing, and inspirational environment that enables their 60 students to achieve academic excellence and prepares them to be morally and socially responsible citizens. We want those seminary students to become model citizens and leaders committed to lifelong learning and steadfast service to their local and global communities. And the masjid is on their way to achieving that, as you have heard and will hear from some of their current students as well as some of their teachers. The two last major buckets that I wanted to quickly touch upon is that the masjid has met or exceeded all of the code regulations, including the height requirement of 35 feet, the domes and minarets at a maximum of 70 feet, the landscaping code that requires 2.5-inch caliper shade trees. The masjid is installing 4-inch caliper shade trees. There's a 24 minimum shrubs. The masjid is installing a double row of 36 minimum inch shrubs. The dumpster screen that the code requires is a 6-foot minimum wooden fence. The masjid is making an 8-foot masonry enclosure. And as I've mentioned above, the code only requires 141 parking spaces for the construction that they're doing. They are providing 275 parking spaces. And again, lastly, the city does not require the masjid to build a fence or a wall or a bordering structure, as it has not required any other business to do so. Despite that, the masjid will take on the additional $200,000 burden to appease our neighbors and to build an 8-foot masonry wall between the masjid and the 13 neighboring residential properties, even though at least 6 of those neighbors don't care about the masonry wall and have either requested a wooden fence or they've signed a letter stating that they consent to the expansion of the masjid on Alston Road as is. The last point that I wanted to make is about RULIPA. RULIPA is the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act. That's a mouthful. Under federal law, the RULIPA is a civil rights law that protects religious institutions from discriminatory and unduly burdensome land use regulations. RULIPA bars land use regulations that substantially burden religious exercise, except where justified by a compelling governmental interest and that the government pursues it in the least restrictive way. Here, there is no compelling religious governmental interest in not approving the zoning or the conditional use permit of the Faizan-e Medina Masjid. Throughout the last 2 years, the masjid has jumped through all of the hoops of not just city council, but has also bent over backwards to work with their neighbors, to work with their HOA, to work with our church on our other side, to ensure that there are minimal consequences to our residential neighbors. The development of the masjid will enhance and be in harmony with the purpose, goals, objectives, and the standards of the City of Sugar Land's comprehensive plan and future land use plan. It will not result in an unsubstantial or undue adverse effect on the adjacent properties, as has been evidenced by the consents and by the support of our neighbors here in Sugar Land. Oppositely, the character of the neighborhood will be improved by the construction, and this will not just be a place of worship, but a community center where people can come together and break bread. Sugar Land, I moved down here about 5 years ago, is one of the most diverse counties in the country, as I've heard over and over, and living in our multicultural community is what draws people to Sugar Land. And just being here, today, where we had Sage, the Fort Bend County Queen, and we had the Robo Space Sapiens, right? That all highlights our diversity. And our diversity is our strength, and it benefits all of us. And we hope we can count on you and on your support in passing our conditional use permit. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Abdullah. Our next guest is Michelle McKeska. Ms. McKeskey, you signed up to speak on item number 4N, which is the event license and sponsorship with Facility Concession Services, DBA Spectrum Concessions.
Yes, I did, and I had a riveting speech prepared that was going to be on topic and completely on the agenda item. But I was hoping I could change the item I would speak on to the mosque.
That's fine.
Okay. I just want to give my verbal support for the construction of this mosque. I think it's amazing, the amount of people who showed up here today, showing our strength as our diversity, and recalling my own experiences with the HOA on just trying to get the door color of my house changed. I have a newfound respect for this group and the hoops they've had to jump through. Our HOAs are notable for being run by people who are retired and don't have much to do and are really obsessed with the different shades of beige.
Please confine your comments to
So
the
sorry.
mosque.
So sorry. I will confine it to the mosque. I believe this mosque should be built. I cannot believe it's taken this long, and I really hope that you hear the sincerity of all these people here. And of course, to end, free Palestine, free Lebanon.
You'll only get one more warning, and I'll clear the room. Our next guest is Iqbar Akhtar on item 6B.
Mayor and the City Council members, my name is Iqbal Akhtar. I live at 11414 Ashford Drive, Sugar Land, Texas. I live about 1 mile from the mosque. I go to the mosque every day from 3 to 5 times a day. I had talked with a lot of people in Barrington, and they have nothing against the mosque. They say, they like the people. I know about 50 people who live in Barrington, and they all are in support of the mosque. It's about the traffic. I go for morning prayers. There is no traffic from the mosque, but most of the traffic is coming from West Airport to Elston. Then they go take a shortcut, then they go to Dairy Ashford. So within 5 minutes, you can see 100 cars going on Elston in the rush hour traffic. And we are a community, zero tolerance community. We want to live peacefully and cooperate with everybody and respect everyone. We like the people who live in Barrington subdivisions. And right now, they are just raising one thing after another just to delay this project. I strongly urge you to please approve this project so it can go forward and we can do our work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Akhtar. Our next guest is Madiha Sharfudin.
Mayor Zimmerman and the council members, good evening. My name is Madiha Sharfuddin, and I am the resident of Barrington Place for the past 7 years. My family and I are the constant visitors of the Alston Mosque. My oldest is, she volunteers at the Alston Mosque for Sunday schools, and my youngest, he loves to play at the mosque on a daily basis. Just like us, there are many other families who frequently visit this place. It does not only serve for religious activities or prayers, instead, it has a vital and active role in our lives, as it provides a place to build social networking, learning faith, cultural values, promote citizenship, and improve mental health for both young and old generations. Being members of the mosque, we help and guide each other on various occasions. As a mother and former teacher, I understand the impact of community members on the future generation and thus wholeheartedly support the development of the Alston Mosque, as it will benefit our entire community and neighborhood. A recent instance I would like to exemplify is the Hurricane Barrel. The mosque opened its doors to all the residents of Barrington and surrounding areas so families can stay in a cool, safe, clean, and healthy environment during those difficult times, providing it as their home away from home. Mr. Zimmerman and council members, we, the people of Barrington Place, would greatly appreciate all your efforts in making our dream come true. For a mosque we have considered a fundamental place for years. I yield my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Mohammed Hassan Memon.
Good evening, Mayor Zimmerman, honorable council members. Thank you so much for taking your time out today to hear us. My name is Mohammed Hassan Memon, and about 10 years ago, 9 to 10 years ago, I had the opportunity, my family moved to Sugar Land, Texas. I stand here today with a deep sense of gratitude and urgency regarding the Alston Road Islamic Center. I've been coming to this mosque since I was a child and have made some of my best friends there. It has been a part of my life since its earlier location, and now here in Sugar Land, just a mile away from my home, it continues to be my spiritual center. Yet despite all the blessings we have within this location, we face the unfortunate reality that we are unable to accommodate to the needs of our community. I've spent nearly a decade volunteering at the Sunday school here, watching countless young children eager to learn. But our space is very limited, as many have mentioned before. Picture this, 2 or 3 classes of kids sharing one hall. It's nearly impossible for them to focus. Younger children especially need space and mobility to move around and learn effectively. How can they retain attention, absorb those important lessons about their faith, about manners, and be a good citizen in such cramped conditions? Our mosque is not just a place for prayer. It's where our children learn values and will shape them into responsible, respectful adults. As someone who grew up here, I can tell you firsthand that this mosque played a critical role in keeping me and my friends on the right path. It gave us a safe place to turn to, away from the dangers of negative influences. Instead, we found peace, we found guidance, and a sense of belonging here. The mosque helped us become the well-behaved, responsible citizens we are today. And this brings me to an important point: mental health. Studies have shown that having a supportive community, especially one that calls people to prayer and offers regular gatherings, significantly improves mental health outcomes for youth. A study by the APA, the American Psychological Association, found that adolescents who regularly engage in community activities, such as those hosted by religious institutions, experience lower levels of anxiety and depression. I know this to be true because this mosque was my very sanctuary. Honorable council members, I urge you to consider the impact of this mosque has on individuals like me and my family and others here today. With your support, we can ensure that this vital institution continues to benefit not only our current generation, but the generations to come. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Mohammed. Our next guest is Constable Nabil Shaikh.
Start in the name of God, the most beneficial, the most merciful. Honorable council members and esteemed citizens of Sugar Land, My name is Nabil Shaikh, and it is both an honor and a privilege to serve as the Fort Bend County Precinct 3 Constable. I'm accompanied today with my Community Relations Captain, Nasser Abbasi. Now, I recognize this council's commitment to fairness and equity for all of its residents, and I commend your tireless efforts in making Sugar Land one of the most desirable places to live in the nation. As the Precinct 3 Constable, my role is to find solutions to challenges and to collaborate closely with the dedicated men and women of the Sugar Land Police Department. In response to traffic concerns at the Fizan Medina Masjid and the Barrington Place HOA, my office has deployed uniformed personnel and police officers to direct traffic during Friday prayers. We're also present at special events to ensure smooth traffic flow and enhance public safety there. I have personally visited the masjid and engaged with some of the administrators who have assured me of their commitment to adhere to the agreements established by the council and the HOA, and I believe they have been doing so. I guarantee that my office will be available to assist with any traffic-related or security issues that may arise in Barrington Place and at that Fazana Medina Masjid. Thank you again for your time, and I hope we can work together towards a positive resolution. Thank you.
Our next guest is Sarahi Garcia. She wants to speak on item number 3C. Which is a proclamation declaring November the 2nd as Arbor Day in Sugar Land, Texas.
My name is Saraí Garcia, Mayor. You should know this already. But I'm not going to speak on Arbor Day, although I think it is very important, and I'm just in accordance with on Arbor Day being declared. I've been moved to speak on the masjid, mainly because I'm sitting back here listening, and I have a big, I'm just listening to everything that's going on, and I just don't understand, or maybe I do. I guess these folks are too nice to say it, but this looks like Islamophobia to me, okay? Y'all put in all these barriers for this masjid to be built. Y'all are, I mean, it's a bunch of BS, honestly. And they're too nice to say it, but yes, it's Islamophobia. That's what it's coming off us. That's what it looked like. And I know that you guys don't give a damn about Muslim people. Why? Because we've been here speaking up for Muslim people and their rights, and you have shut us down every time. Yes, you don't give
First warning, second warning. Mike.
Ma'am, you are disrupting a public meeting. You've been warned. You need to leave the meeting. Sugar Land Police Department, if you'll please remove.
They're trash. Honorable my ass. Free Palestine!
Our next guest is M. Scott.
Excuse me, Mayor. Mr. Scott has been given 3 minutes, I'm told, by Ms. Taryn Lyon, if you have her speaker card.
Well, I've got M. Scott's card.
Okay.
For the record,
yes, sir.
Any email I've submitted is being included in this CUP vote, correct?
If you've submitted an email, it'll be part of the public record.
Then let this serve as an amendment to that email. My name is Matthew Scott. I hold a civil and environmental engineering degree from California Polytechnic, San Luis Obispo. I have worked for my home county's Engineering and Surveying Services Department. I've worked for various civil engineering firms prior to changing my career path. I have seen projects like this from both sides of the public and private perspective. Let me start off by saying that I will say that many of the statements here are categorically false. For example, the wall, if you look at the agenda, it was submitted on September 26th. In order for me to get any information about the development at the mosque, I had to come down here and file an open records request, because this whole process has been so unorganized, I cannot determine what's going on next door, and we have issues such as drainage. I realize that they have an underground water retention system. One thing I've asked of them in public and private meetings is that they clarify how tall the curb heights are going to be near their parking as a manner of secondary water retention to force them to deal with the water on their property and not the residents of Barrington Place. The fact that the wall is in there, I am extremely happy about that, because it will act as water retention. It will act as noise and light. It will limit the pollution from that during construction and during operations. With that being said, this is how quickly that wall was snuck up in the agenda. If you go and look at the site layout plan, it's not even on the layout. That layout needs to be modified and stamped by an engineer before this CUP even gets accepted, because as it exists in the current agenda, that layout is not even close to what the agenda is talking about. No one has their legal name lined up if it deviates at all until that layout gets modified. And while I want the mosque to be able to build, I want them committed to building it right. As such, if any member of the mosque requires a red line of their layout, I will offer my services in a red line, site D or size D, if you print it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next guest is Todd McCorkable. Todd McCorkle.
I'm here, sir.
Oh, you're in the other room. Okay, thanks, Todd.
Out of breath now.
Oh, welcome.
Thank you for giving me a few seconds to get here. It's good to be here again, Mayor, council members. I'm Todd McCorkadell. I speak for myself and my wife. We live at 13118 Worthington, Sugarland, 77478. I have sent an email, so this will be more a verbal amendment to that on September 14th. So some of the information in there may be a little out of date because a lot of things have happened since then. Let me start out, I'm going to punt here because what I typed out has changed a lot. I'm not opposed to the mosque. I know the mosque is going to be built. I want it to be built. I don't care if it gets built. What I do care about is the impact it has on our neighborhood. Yeah, I live exactly 187 yards from the mosque as the bird flies. Okay, the height of the mosque is, in my opinion, substantial. I will, sitting in my backyard, I will have to look at it every day. Okay. City codes are there, and there are maximums and minimums, and they have gone to the maximum on the height. They say they reduced the minuet. They reduced it because they had to, not because they wanted to. If we really want to build a place for worship and for our kids, and we want to get this passed and move forward, which I support all of you, we don't need a 40, 50 foot tall building to worship in or to teach in. Schools, how many public schools we have, they are not at the maximum of the allowed heights. I would also like to talk about the impact of traffic during construction. In my professional career, I've built a bunch of stuff, and that is going to be a major concern in the neighborhood, and I would like to see that it is addressed as well. It doesn't have to hold up the passing of the cup, but it does need to be addressed. And that's all I have. I yield my time. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Our final guest this evening is Taryn Lyon. Taryn may be in the other room also. We'll give him a few minutes. Taryn Lyon. Justin, do you see anybody coming in from the other room? Will you check the other room, please? Give it just a minute. Okay. It appears Mr. Lyon's gone. This time, I think we're going to take a brief recess, and then we'll come back and we'll reconvene with item number 4 of the consent agenda. Let's take a 10-minute recess.
A review of the funding. The estimated cost for the full pilot is $1.5 million per year. We were awarded federal funding through HGAC's CMAQ grant, which is the Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality Improvement Program. Federal grants are typically 80% funding, and then the local area has to come up with 20% local match. So 80% of the federal grant is a little more than $1.2 million each year. So times 3 is $3.5 million. That's the federal grant money that we're receiving. And then the local match, 20% for each year would be approximately $300,000. And that federal funding, we had brought previously the resolution 24.42, which was approved on August the 26th of this year. Fort Bend County had a 2023 mobility bond, and voters approved $1.5 million toward this project, which will be used for the local match over the 3 years. And it's multi-precinct commissioner supported as well. The status of the pilot at this point, we issued a performance-based request for proposals on September 11th. That closed on October 4th, and we received 5 proposals that were submitted. Currently, we have a small review team that's currently conducting the vendor selection process, and we're hoping that this service can get started by the end of the year. This interlocal agreement with the county for the $1.5 million, Fort Bend County, this is their obligations to us. Fort Bend County agrees to pay the city an amount equal to 100% of the eligible project costs, or $1.5 million of these costs, whichever is less. They will pay the city within 30 days of request for payment, which we can request once we have selected a vendor and entered into a contract. In the event the county's portion of the eligible project cost is under $1.5 million, the county will place the remainder of such proceeds into a reserve to fund other city mobility bond projects or shift the excess proceeds from the project to another city project that may be experiencing overruns. And the city obligations for the interlocal agreement, the project shall be facilitated, managed, and administered by the city. Within 30 days of completion of the project, the city shall furnish the county with an invoice showing full accounting of the funds expended for the project. And the city shall take all reasonable actions to ensure that the project is administered in a good and workmanlike manner with all reasonable diligence. So staff is requesting approval of the interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County in the amount of up to $1.5 million to help fund the microtransit service pilot project.
Any questions, William?
Quick question, as I look at the service area map, tell us why those limits are in place as opposed to someone that lives in New Territory that may be able to take advantage of, or Greatwood. Why are they outside of the limits?
The main thing is to remember this is just a pilot. So it's a test run to see how the service operates. We're going to be collecting data during that test to see where people are wanting to go, where they're coming from. All of that will be gathered during the pilot project. We picked the area because it includes places where mostly people are trying to go. The hospital, event centers, shopping, dining, and it includes neighborhoods that have the highest percentage of low-income, elderly, and disabled people that live in the city. So we did some census tract research.
Jennifer.
You said that kids 13 years old and up would be able to book a ride. What are your safety measures in place for kids of that age? booking rides by themselves? Just curious.
And, cities like Houston, actually children can ride public transit as they go to school. This Fort Bend Transit, their requirement is kids 13 or older can schedule a ride on their service, their demand response service within the county, and can ride by themselves. Anyone younger than that would need an adult to accompany them, obviously. We're looking for a turnkey service provider that can basically run the entire project for us, and we would make sure that their drivers are employees of the company, that they've been background checked, that they drug and alcohol testing, they have certain training. There would be cameras on the vehicles. No one's watching it 24/7 likely, but if there was an incident, it would be pulled, which is very much like what Fort Bend Transit does.
Suzanne.
Thank you. Melanie, you talked about the funding sources, and just to clarify, I actually have two questions. Just to clarify that, we're using HGAC and county funding. Is there any source from the city at all for funding? So this is no cost to our taxpayers?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And then secondary question is, as far as revenue generation, do we really expect this to generate any revenue, or is it just kind of paying for itself?
It probably wouldn't have been paid for itself over time.
Okay.
Public transit is designed to be accessible for everyone, and that's why it doesn't cost very much. $5 I think is the maximum that they charge in certain areas. If you're crossing county lines, you're going further distances. So $2 is pretty reasonable for what is charged in Texas. But yeah, it's going to be. We would always need it to be subsidized by the federal government grant program.
That was the question. Thank you.
It's not going to be a moneymaker, no, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Carol.
To follow up on Councilmember Lane's point, I guess I'm not concerned about a 13-year-old child, riding on the bus with the bus driver. I'd be more concerned about a 13-year-old child just being dropped off, alone someplace. And so we don't really have any control after they're dropped off like that by themselves.
Well, just a point a vendor has not been selected yet.
Right.
The rules.
I don't have all the rules and details at this point.
This is to the interlocal agreement. So as far as rules and how we're going to manage that will be done in the future.
Yeah, once we get to the contract part, then all that can be addressed. But yes, it is a concern of mine too, because I have a young son, so yes.
Motion to approve.
Got a motion by Watley, second by Kermally. You vote at this time, please.
Thank you very much.
And it passed 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 5B, consideration of an action on authorization of an interlocal agreement with Fort Bend County Levee Improvement District number 10 for the development and maintenance of park improvements at the park at the levee. William Hasdick, Assistant Director of Parks and Rec. William.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge some guests that are with me here in the audience, and they'd also be available to answer any questions that I cannot answer. From the Lid 10 board, and we have Ike Akiwandi. We also have Sibu Vargasi, Johnny Cantu, Poli Love. They're all from the Lid 10 board. We also have from LJA Engineering, the design consultant for Lid 10, Chris Comer. And then the Lid 10 attorney, Christopher Jordan, is with us tonight.
Welcome.
Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all coming. So in this interlocal agreement, the city of Sugar Land, of course, we own and operate the 3-acre park in Enclave at River Park Subdivision, known as Park at the Levee, as well as the 2 tracts undeveloped parkland adjacent to the park, totaling 1.7 acres. So 4.737 acres total. The Park at the Levee was annexed, that park was annexed by City of Sugar Land and started the maintenance from the Parks and Recreation Department in 2009 when we annexed River Park. The 1.7 acres came a little bit later through the parks
when neighborhoods are built, park land is donated along with that. So that acreage came then. Fort Bend County Levy Improvement District number 10, which is located partially within the enclave of River Park subdivision, approached the city with a proposal to improve the undeveloped parkland in exchange for the city's commitment to maintain those improvements. This collaboration aligns with the city's ongoing efforts to develop parkland and provide enhanced recreational space for its residents. So on the map there, you can see the park at the levee. On the right-hand side, you can see the 1.7 undeveloped acres. We currently mow and maintain all of the parkland. Right now, the right-hand side is just mowed space with some trees. The park at the levee, though, is a neighborhood park, typical neighborhood park. It has a pavilion, playground, exercise equipment, landscaping, and a walking trail. So under this agreement, the LID 10 will fund and construct specific park improvements, including parking facility, walkways, picnic area, a shade structure, 2 pickleball courts, bocce ball courts, irrigation and landscaping, and a racket practice area. The city will own and maintain these improvements once completed. LID 10 is responsible for 100% of the construction costs, while the city will provide approval for the design and maintain the park infrastructure once the improvements are completed. Additionally, LID 10 will follow all applicable procurement laws and ensure that all construction is carried out in compliance with the city's ordinances, safety standards, and relevant laws. The city will retain the right to inspect the construction process and ensure that these improvements meet the agreed upon standards. The agreement also outlines the responsibilities for ongoing maintenance, with the city agreeing to maintain the improvements at a standard consistent with other city parks, although replacement of damaged or aged components will be subject to available funding. This agreement was reviewed with the IGR committee on 9/17. So with that, you can see a diagram of the proposed improvements by LID 10. 2 pickleball courts, 2 bocce ball courts, tennis practice court, outdoor games, a lawn area, covered picnic table area, and an expanded parking lot. This is in accordance with our master plan of improving outdoor recreational spaces and basically putting our park assets to work. With that, staff recommends approval of the interlocal agreement between Fort Bend County Levy District Improvement Number 10 and the City of Sugar Land for the development and maintenance of park improvements at Park of the Levee. This collaboration will expand and enhance the park, providing additional recreational facilities for residents of the enclave at River Park subdivision and also the wider community. And with that, I'd like to take any questions.
William, go back a couple slides. I noticed that you said 2 tennis courts not in the construction, so those won't be constructed.
So I apologize for that. I meant to say 2 pickleball courts. The 2 tennis courts are not in the agreement at this time.
Okay, so the pickleball courts will be built. The tennis courts are not part of this agreement.
Not part of this agreement. My understanding is that was going to be funded by the HOA, and that didn't work out, and so that could be done at a later time, but it's not part of this agreement. So my apologies for saying tennis courts. I meant to say pickleball courts.
Okay. Anyone else, Stuart?
Thank you, Mayor. William, is there any issues with those 3 adjoining residential lots? Is that going to pose any quiet enjoyment issues for them?
So I did talk to LID 10, and they have had multiple meetings at the HOA, River Park HOA meetings about this project, multiple. Our director, Joe Chesser, went to some of those, but he's retired now, so I kind of assumed this project over. And they said that they will have continuing engagement efforts with those residents before construction begins. There's no concerns to my knowledge at this time.
I think the question was, are those residents in agreement with the construction that's going to be going on around them? And we might have to get somebody from the board to answer that question.
Sure.
Ike? Evening.
Thank you, Councilman. Ike Akinwande here. So this project has been a long-standing, thank you, I'm tall. This has been a long-standing project that's been coordinated with the entire community for the last 9 years, I believe. Lots of public engagement for those particular lots. all of the community had wanted this project to happen. So everyone is aware. We're going to continue to make sure that people understand what the timeline is and what the impacts might be with construction. A lot of people, construction is hard, and it always gets worse before it gets better. But what you see in front of you today is the better part of it. And so that's what we're looking forward to.
Nishad?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to also concur. Johnny can too, and I've met multiple times on this. This was part of my area, and the residents are really excited about this. This has been ongoing. He said 9 years. I've been involved with it for about five and a half, 6 years. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Got a motion by Kermali, second by McCutcheon. Any other discussion? You'll vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, board members. Thank y'all for coming. Passes 7-0. Item number 6, ordinances and resolution. 6A, consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Resolution number 2456, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, adopting a legislative agenda for the 89th session of the Texas Legislature to include special called sessions of the 89th Legislature and the interim. Spencer Gutierrez, our Intergovernmental Relations Manager, and Shayla, I think you're going to introduce him.
Yes, so as tradition goes, it's Spencer's first presentation, so I did want to take a time to briefly introduce him. Spencer joined the city in late June, right before Hurricane Beryl, so he's hit the ground running already. He worked for Congresswoman Lizzie Fletcher for the last 5 years in various roles, where he ended as the Deputy District Director there. He also is a proud graduate of Southern Methodist University in Dallas, and Spencer has a lot going on, getting ready, prepared for the upcoming legislative session. So at this time, I'll turn it over to him to tell you guys about what we've been working on.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks, Shayla. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We'll go ahead and jump right in. This is the item up for today is our 89th legislative agenda for the upcoming legislative session that is scheduled to begin in January. So really quick, we'll go over a brief recap of the last legislative session. As everyone knows, these sessions run every 2 years. In 2023, we had over 8,000 bills introduced. The number of bills every year seems to be increasing. Of those 8,000 bills, about 1,200 were passed. That amounts to something like 15%, which means a lot of bills do not end up making it through. But of the original 8,000, about 1,800 of those are related to the city, or cities in general, I should say, and about 230 of those city-related bills end up passing. So the city has a vested interest in being represented at the legislature and getting together with other cities, as the state always has some sort of interest in what cities do. So each legislature is a little bit different, but what seems to happen is that you'll get issues from the previous legislative session that kind of carry on, and that'll be a running theme later throughout this presentation. So really the path to this upcoming legislative session starts much farther before January, going back to the spring and even up to the very end of the previous session. So we've had meetings with the Legislative Task Force beginning in July, shortly after I got here. Of course, the same thing with our Intergovernmental Relations Committee. Those meetings happen concurrently. We've had folks come in and discuss what some highlights of what they think might come up in the upcoming session. There's been the Texas Municipal League. All these things are happening kind of concurrently, leading up to the implementation of what will be our legislative agenda, starting as soon as next month, because pre-filing begins on November 11th before the legislative session, running through the end of the session in May of next year, or until special sessions stop being called. So I'll bring you to our legislative task force. Our legislative task force is made up of residents of the city of Sugar Land. They're tasked with listening to and meeting with city staff, coming up and reviewing our agenda, providing feedback of our residents, and perhaps most importantly, during the session, they will be community advocates. When bills come through that might affect the city, they will have the knowledge and the background that we've been given from the staff to get in and know how it's going to affect the city that they live in. And we do have a handful of folks here tonight from our legislative task force. A couple of folks had to leave. Those of you who are here, if you could stand up real quick just to be recognized. So they've been great about meeting. We've been meeting since July, about every 2 weeks, discussing all these issues with them, and coming up with the legislative agenda that we have tonight. The resolution for tonight, in summary, states that the city will meet with our legislators prior to the session to discuss issues and work with our partners to pass or defeat legislation that includes partners like the Texas Municipal League and other cities, the county, various other entities, so that our legislators can understand the implications of their legislation and to seek the impact of local governments, and to have the local impact from those local elected officials, because so many of these issues that are local should be decided by the people who are closest, the elected officials who are closest to the residents. So on Exhibit A, you'll see a list of the position statements. I believe that you were all given this earlier. So as I mentioned earlier, every legislative session is to some degree a continuation of the one prior, and what ends up happening is we get many issues that come up year after year, session after session. So on this page, you'll see a list of positions that are the same as previous years. That includes things like municipal powers, the ability of cities to regulate themselves, to come up with their budget, determine their right-of-way, how the utilities are used, various different things relating to public meetings like today's meeting, and many other things. So those are all carryovers from the past session. So next, I'll touch on just a couple of the things that are new or have been edited. For public safety, we've expanded the position on mental health. It's been an increasing issue nationwide across the state and every city. Our city, the police force has done great at getting their mental health team together, but we want to make sure that the city continues to be represented when it comes to those concerns at the state. And we also have a statement here regarding bank jugging, which is a particular type of crime. There used to be a statement on our agenda for the past two sessions relating to catalytic converters as a bit of a success story on the previous legislation. We've seen those kinds of crimes drop off dramatically, again, as a result of legislation about prosecuting those types of crimes. So that's a little bit of a hint as to how these kinds of items work and how they've been successful for the city. When it comes to land use, we know that the state has a particular interest in land use, in part because it's much harder than it used to be to have space for homes. But additionally, a lot of these positions are in response to different items that the legislature passed last year or proposed last year, including those about making sure that the city is able to require specific licensing for work that's done, and that the city is the entity that allows for inspections or reviews and not other third parties. Additionally, redevelopment, like I said, we know that housing is going to be a big issue in the legislature. The ultimate point here is that we want to make sure that, again, these local issues are that local local entities have the representation to make those kinds of decisions, and that the state isn't mandating things upon cities without having that sort of closer view. And lastly, animal services. This has been an issue for a number of folks across the state, right? We have a large number of animals, and so we want to make sure that we are, again, represented when that issue comes towards the legislature, if it comes toward the legislature. So the recommendation from staff is to approve Resolution 2456, adopting the legislative agenda for the upcoming 89th session of the Texas Legislature, which begins in January. And I'm open for any questions from folks.
Suzanne.
Mayor, can I do this part? Can I say thank you to the staff?
Sure.
You usually do that, but I'm going to jump on this because I love legislation. And I want to thank the task force. You guys did an amazing job. I know it was a lot of work, and there's a couple of you that came in at the last minute at our request and really did a great job. So thank you very much. Welcome, Spencer. You hit the ground running, and you did a great job, and you worked with a lot of moving parts quickly. So thank you for that. And with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
I got a motion by Watley. Do I have a second? Got a second by Kermally. Shayla, to you and Spencer, and to the legislative task force, thank y'all for your good work. Let the games begin.
Thanks, y'all.
Come January, we're all in. If everybody will vote at this time. I've got a motion by Watley, second by Kermally. Vote at this time, please. You already done voting. Yeah. Oh, I didn't vote. Passes 7-0, I guess, because I didn't vote. Item number 6, B, first consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance number 2312, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, granting a conditional use permit for a place of worship, Austin E. Medina Majid, located at 13130 Austin Road within the neighborhood business B1 zoning district. We have Miss Laura Waller, our senior planner. Laura.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So y'all have heard a little bit about this already, but I'm here to give you some more background on the property, on the case, and kind of where we've been throughout this journey. So just to start, here's a couple of maps just currently showing the zoning. So the zoning of this property is B1 neighborhood business. That is a non-residential commercial use. Neighborhood business is intended to go for commercial uses that are near to residential areas. You can see the aerial image, so you can see the existing structures are located kind of to the middle, a little bit of the rear, and then there's some existing surface parking. So the residential proximity CUP, the whole purpose of us coming for you tonight is based on an ordinance that was passed in 2016. This ordinance amended the code to require a conditional use permit for non-residential uses that are directly adjacent to a single-family residential lot in a single-family residential district. This CUP is required for new commercial uses or expansion of commercial uses, commercial meaning non-residential, that are adjacent to residential uses. This allows P&Z and council the opportunity to place conditions to mitigate effects on those residential properties. Because as we all know, the use of the property is not the same. So conditions typically include things like upgraded screening. So that's going to be higher caliber trees, taller bushes at initial planting, maybe additional fencing, higher quality fencing, things like that. Normally, we also see a condition for no outdoor speakers in order to help with noise pollution. And then we also normally try to see site plan layouts showing buildings and dumpsters oriented as far away from residential property as the site allows. So the background of this specific project, this property was annexed in 1985 and then later zoned B1 neighborhood business just after annexation, also in 1985. It was purchased by the current owners in 2014, after which additional parking was put in place, lighting, and other site work to convert the residential to a place of worship in 2014. The residential proximity requirement did pass in 2016. So that now newly requires a conditional use permit for expansions. There are some thresholds that are triggered to meet the residential proximity CUP process. That's going to be if the new building is within 100 feet or new paving within 50 feet, if a structure is taller than 35 feet, if it's greater than 25% of the existing footprint of the structure, things like that. So there were two small scale additions that were able to be approved in 2018 because they did not meet the threshold to trigger that CUP process. However, now the CUP is before you because the new addition does meet those thresholds. So as I mentioned, it is within 100 feet, there is new paving within 50 feet, the structure is taller than 35 feet, and it is larger than 25% of the existing building that's on site. So part of the conditional use permit development process, it starts with the conditional use permit. So that is where we are now. We are at step one, this first block. This is a zoning process. So these documents are not stamped by an engineer because we have not gotten to that phase yet. This will include general landscape requirements, fencing requirements, the prohibition on outdoor speakers. It'll include a basic site layout with dimensions. It'll include elevations of the building. This is also where we look at the traffic impact that is based on use. Zoning and use go hand in hand. So we do evaluate traffic impact based on the use and the structures that are proposed in that site layout. That is what staff has reviewed. That is what's before you tonight. The next step would be a site plan application process. That is where drainage facilities are evaluated by our engineering staff. Those do require fully engineered stamped drawings, utility connections, photometric plans. The details of all of those landscaping plans will be reviewed again. Irrigation, in order to make sure that that landscape flourishes, is reviewed at that time. Then the building permit will come after that, and that gets into even more detail. That's going to be details on the building itself. So the site plan looks at the site work, the details of the paving, those things that are exterior. The building permit looks at the things that are interior, so the details on the structural drawings, mechanical, ventilation, electrical, making sure plumbing plans, all of that, making sure everything meets our current city codes. And those two items will come in the future if we get past stage 1, which is where we are now in the zoning process. So the specifics of this CUP, the existing structure is approximately 4,700 square feet. It is a 2-story brick house that has been repurposed for the Mosque and is proposed to remain along with the existing 91 parking spaces that are on site as permitted in 2014. The proposal that is before you is a site-wide additions to be added in 2 phases, totaling just under 47,000 square feet. Phase 1 includes a main assembly area, women's entrances and restrooms, classrooms, additional parking spaces, landscaping, and the 8-foot tall fence. Phase 2 would include a multipurpose room, the men's entrance and a courtyard, classrooms, additional parking, and an outdoor basketball court. While the structure proposed is 70 feet tall at the highest point, it does meet all additional setbacks that are required for residential adjacency. So we do have some specifics that are built into our development code for, while places of worship do have an additional 35 feet height allowance for religious institutions, they do have to meet additional setbacks in order to be able to be constructed that high. So, and these structures do meet those setbacks. The bulk of the building that is occupied does meet the B1 maximum height of 35 feet, and that does match the residential maximum height, which is also 35 feet. The landscaping that is proposed is a double row of hedges that'll be 36 inches at planting and 4-inch caliber shade trees. Those are 2 standards that are beefier than our development code requires, but they are standard as far as other CUPs go. That is typically what we see in our PD districts as well as our CUPs. The dumpster screening is an 8-foot masonry fence. Our code only requires a 6-foot masonry fence. The dumpster has also been moved. It is currently in the back corner near 2 residential property lines. It has been proposed to be moved to the front of the area so that it is away from residences. And as mentioned during some of the comments, the site is exceeding the minimum parking space requirements. Code requires 141. They have proposed 275 at the completion of the project. The TIA has been updated, reviewed, and concurred with. Since the time of some of our previous meetings, there has been an additional traffic scenario run at full parking lot capacity. There were additional counts collected, and there is a new recommendation for striping on Alston Road that would include a left turn lane into the site, as well as no parking signs along the northern boundary of Alston Road in order to make room for that turn lane. Before releasing a building permit, the site plan will be reviewed. It'll have to comply with all of the engineering design standards, including stormwater mitigation, drainage requirements. They would also be required to submit infrastructure plans that show the details of that striping that's to be placed on the new roadway. So this is the site plan as proposed. So as mentioned, there is a phase 1. This is going to be the main assembly area and the women's entrance. There will be one, this is the dome right here. There will also be parking added, landscaping, and then the fence. Phase 2 would come later. That will have the minaret, which is located here, as well as men's entrance, a courtyard, and another dome, and the rest of the parking, landscaping, and the outdoor basketball court. There are some basic floor plans that are included. This just shows the general programming of what the facility will look like so that we have an idea of what is going to be used for gathering space, what's used for classroom space, what is things like restrooms, mechanical areas, things like that. This helps us get an accurate count for how many trips are generated, how many parking spaces are needed, that kind of thing. The second floor also on the floor plans shows approximately what the classroom layouts are going to be so we can get an idea of exactly what kind of uses are going to be going into this structure. Elevations are also included. This is normal with all of our conditional use permits. That way, you guys, as well as the residents, can get an idea of what to expect to come before us. So this is going to be primarily brick and stone veneer with stucco. So the brick and stone veneer is that darker, and then stucco is the lighter. And then you can see the architectural features of the domes and the minarets. This is also where you can see the height maximums of 70 feet at the top of that minaret. And then just the other sides of the buildings for the rest of those elevations. The landscaping plan here shows the shade trees that are along the property lines, the double row of hedges for complete screening around the parking lot adjacent to residential areas, as well as just some other trees and shade trees that are throughout the site in order to comply with our parking and shade tree requirements. As mentioned, the caliper and minimum planting sizes are on this document to be codified, 36 inches at planting and 4-inch caliper shade trees. This is a new item that has been recently added to the conditional use permit. This is a letter of commitment from the Mosque leadership to committing to building a 8-foot masonry fence along the border between their property and those residences. So let me go back up just one slide. So it would be along these property lines. Per the letter, it will be solely on their property. It will be 8 feet, as you can see in the details that are attached there. This will be a concrete masonry unit, that's CMU block wall, that will then be covered and sealed in stucco. The only exception to the masonry fence is the owner at 2219 Sarandon. They have worked specifically with this property owner who also shares a border with the Church of Christ. That is the neighbor to the south. So, whoops, wrong button. So that will be the neighbor here. They straddle this property line, so this is the Church of Christ to the south. So this property owner, not wanting to have partial masonry and partial wood fencing, has requested that instead their portion of the fence be an 8-foot wood fence, so that it is more in line with the existing fence that it borders the Church of Christ to the south. And again, that is noted in that letter. The future land use plan does align with our CUP. It classifies this area as neighborhood commercial and services. It does suggest enhanced buffering near residences, which is provided in the landscaping plan. The land use plan does call out religious institutions as a specific suggested land use in this area due to the proximity to neighborhoods. Low to mid-rise heights are suggested, so 2 stories with some taller architectural features meets that recommendation as in the land use plan. So, going back a little bit in time, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing last summer. At that meeting, we had 4 emailed comments, 3 speakers were present, and there were 15 online comment forms that were received. Primary concerns from the public were about light, noise, height of the building, and traffic impacts. The commission did unanimously vote to recommend approval, but they did add several conditions to help mitigate those concerns from the public. Those conditions were that there would be no outdoor speakers, that there would be 0 foot candles at the property line. That means there is no light spillover at the property line. Full cutoff lighting fixtures, which is a standard requirement in our development code, but they wanted to double wrap it, make sure it's covered by adding it as a condition. They also recommended an 8-foot wood fence along the perimeter of the site, and they required the condition that the dumpster be relocated away from any adjacent residences. So following that, City Council held a public hearing last year, August 15th. At that public hearing, or previous to it, we received 2 comment letters, and there were 7 speakers present. Primary concerns, again, were about light, noise pollution, size and scale of the building, flooding and drainage, and then how the new structure would affect the character of the neighborhood, and also traffic impacts again. So that first, after the public hearing, the first reading was tabled. We had direction from mayor and council for the leaders of the Mosque and Barrington Place HOA to work together to address the traffic, drainage, and public safety issues, given the residents' concern about the health, safety, and public welfare of the neighborhood. Since that meeting, the city has received emails both for and against the conditional use permit. These numbers are actually, they need to be updated. So we've had 3 phone calls in support, 1 comment form come in support, 70 emails come in support, and 16 emails against. So since that public hearing, it has been a while, about 14 months. So we did have several meetings. There was a large meeting initially in September to get everyone kind of in the same room and try and see what the big issues were. So Barrington Place HOA and their architectural review committee, the Mosque leadership and some of their other staff members, as well as city staff from all of the relevant departments, traffic, engineering, planning, communications, and engagement, were all present at that meeting. Several things came out of that meeting. One of them was that engineering would evaluate the existing drainage to make sure that everything is operating correctly, given concerns that we had heard at an HOA meeting as well as at the podium, and then later at this meeting in September. That was completed in January. The Mosque consultant would evaluate the cost of a masonry fence, look at what it would take to build that, what costs would be, things like that. That was completed in March of 2024. In June of 2024, we did have the updated TIA concurred with. So in September, it was decided we would need to do some updates, new counts, and other changes were needed to be made to that TIA. Again, that was completed in June. And then since then, the Mosque and the HOA have been working together to try to come to an agreement on exactly what the masonry fence would look like, where it would go, all the details of that. And the outcome of that is the letter that is now attached as Exhibit G to that ordinance. So some updates that you'll see reflected in the plan, since we have had some time to do that, is the relocation of the dumpster enclosure away from the residences, removing the light poles from the plans. They were previously included, but since that is to be determined with the photometric plan to ensure that there are 0-foot candle spillover, we went ahead and just pulled them from the CUP to be evaluated by staff during the site plan process. The call out of the 8-foot wood fence was added after P&Z, but that is going to now be amended, obviously, with Exhibit G, and proposed to be upgraded to masonry per that newly attached letter. And then again, the installation of a left turn lane on Alston Road based on the new updates from that traffic impact analysis. So as part of our research into this, we did look at other places of worship in the area that are nearby. We wanted to make sure that this was generally in alignment with the neighborhood and character in the surrounding area. So we looked at whether these structures required a CUP. The proposal before you, obviously, yes. The Alston Road Church of Christ, that is an immediate property border to the south, did not require a CUP because it was built before 2016. So although they are immediately adjacent, they didn't have to go through this process. They are adjacent to the rear, and they do have a rear setback of 182 feet. That is the nearest point from the structure to the residential property line. The height of the roof is a little under 37 feet. They do not have a steeple, and their existing 6-foot wood fence that was put in place by the neighborhood is the fence that is required there. The Alpha Omega Church, which is on the other side of Barrington Place, just down Alston Road, did require a conditional use permit, but that is because even though it was built before 2016, it is in neighborhood zoning. So it is in a residential zoning district. It is immediately adjacent on both sides of the property as well as the rear of the property. So 3 sides adjacency. The rear setback is 25 feet for that site. The side setback is 30 feet. It is 54 feet to the roof of that structure, but it also does not have a steeple. And again, for that project, the existing fence that was already in place is what was required. The Fort Bend Church, which is just across West Airport, was built before 2016, and because it's B1, did not require the residential adjacency conditional use permit. It is adjacent to residential zoning. However, that residential zoning is not developed. It is not currently being utilized as a residential property. So there is a 260-foot rear setback, a 460-foot side setback. The height of the roof is 73 feet, and they do have a large steeple that reaches up to 106 feet. And as is the case for the rest of them, this one just uses the existing 6-foot wood fence. So based on the conditions that P&Z has proposed, the updates to the ordinance number 2312, staff and P&Z do recommend approval of 2312. If you have any questions, happy to answer them. We also have the applicant available for questions too.
Questions, William?
Well, you've done a lot of work.
I've tried.
Yeah. Hey, so I am confident as I read through this, and you guys will address drainage issues in the future. As I read through this, existing today, a guest of that property in bulk, when there's a mass of guests, they are parking on the public roadways throughout the community and walking. Is that correct?
Correct.
Because I've driven through there before when they had events at that property, and I was blown away at the number of people walking up and down the public streets with no sidewalks. And so these are the thoughts that go through my mind. So timing is everything, it seems, with 2016 and this property. It's really interesting to me as I see whatever the plans would be for that property, it's all about timing. And so we're working with our existing timing and everything in place. So thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Stuart?
Thank you, Mayor. I just have two quick procedural questions, if I may. The first one is, no outdoor speakers doesn't mean no noise. What kind of ordinances do we have to mitigate noise if, for instance, there's so much noise that it's leaking out or the windows are open, and how do we deal with that?
The way we would elsewhere in the city, our code enforcement crew would be called to address any noise complaints. So we do have a citywide noise ordinance that would apply to this property as well.
Okay, and then the other procedural question is, so if the CUP passes the second reading, next meeting, is it all administrative from there on, or does it go before P&Z or us again for anything?
It would be all administrative from that point. The property is platted, so there would be no need to come before P&Z for platting, and the site plan and building permit review is a staff administrative process.
Okay, thanks.
Jean?
Can you pull up the P&Z slide meeting results? And I just want to make sure that these concerns that were addressed in P&Z, they were addressed tonight and back in August as well. Have they all been satisfied? And I think I know your answer because you're recommending it. But the light concern is resolved?
Yes, sir. So that was resolved with the additional condition of 0-foot candles at the property line and full cutoff lighting fixtures.
And then Stuart just addressed the noise issue, which I appreciate. The height, I believe the minaret is at 70 feet?
Correct.
Wasn't it higher earlier and was brought down later?
So the initial application that came into staff did show the minaret at 98 feet. Staff recommended they bring it down to 70 based on the development code allowances. The development code allows for 35 feet of occupied space and an additional 35 feet for architectural features that are unoccupied for places of worship. And that is where we got to the 70 feet for the minaret.
28 feet lower than what we heard back in August, approximately?
No, sir. So that was before it even came to P&Z.
Okay.
That was through the staff review. That's part of, so before CUPs become before any public body, they are reviewed thoroughly by staff in order to make sure they're in compliance with the development code to start with. And then you guys can go above and beyond with additional requirements and conditions. So the 70 feet is the development code requirement that staff negotiated, well, not negotiated, staff got them down to.
We hear you, we understand.
Before we would bring it to P&Z.
Perfect. I knew that it was higher at one point in time, but I appreciate you doing what you do, as William stated as well. And then the traffic study was Friday is a high peak time. I'm assuming there were several Fridays studied during peak times as well?
So Jason Vaughn is our traffic engineer. So initially there was a study done on Thursday, and then there were additional counts collected for a Friday. I'm not sure how many, but Jason can speak to that.
Go ahead and introduce myself. Jason Vaughn, Traffic Engineering Manager for the Engineering Department. And from the TIA, there was 2 Fridays that were studied back.
Two Fridays?
Yes.
Okay, very good. That helps answer the question. And question about the timeline. Sorry, Mayor, I've got more here. Almost done. Timeline of construction, because some of the residents were concerned. I heard 5 years and I heard 6 months tonight. Do we have a timeline of construction?
So the conditional use permit does not necessarily outline the exact timeline. What it does is it outlines phases, phase 1 and then phase 2. And while they can do phase 2 as early as they want, they don't necessarily have to, sorry, just distracted. There's not anything codified for their timeline. I can say that our development code, as far as CUP authorizations, if a building permit is not submitted within 2 years of approval of a CUP, the CUP is terminated. So they have to pull a permit within 2 years. And then if the permit for phase 2 will need to be submitted within 5 years. Otherwise, they will have to come back for either an extension or another conditional use permit.
Very good. That's it.
Suzanne?
Thank you. I just want to go over this. I know we heard it 1,000 times, but one more time. But first of all, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, because it means a lot to us to hear from you. And we have, I don't know, you said 70 emails. I don't know if you're looking in our emails, because there's a lot more than that from all of you. So thank you for that. It's meaningful to have you here. As the mayor said at our last meeting when we tabled this or put it back to you, we expected the HOA to work with all of you together to come to an agreement. And by golly, I think we're kind of there, because all the things we heard about, construction, traffic, street parking, lighting, drainage, noise, fencing, the height of the tower, the time frame of the construction, I'm going to ask you one more time, have we mitigated all of these issues to the point where we can move forward confidently, knowing that both sides of this issue, the homeowners association and the person, the permit, the project, is going forward confidently, that we are solving these issues? And if there's anything else we need to look at, please tell us now.
To the best of staff's ability, we do recommend approval. So yes, we believe that the concerns have been addressed and mitigated as well as possible.
Because I will say this, when I look at all these issues from both sides, I see them coming to be resolved, and we want to make sure that we have this done to the best of our ability for everyone involved. So if there's anything else that we need to know about, I want to hear about it now. Thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. What's the capacity of the building? And tell me what the parking. So there's a capacity limitation for the fire marshal, and then there's a parking requirement. And what are those two things?
Yeah, so I am not sure. That has not been evaluated yet. That would be evaluated during the building permit process. That is when during the site plan process. That is when the International Fire Code and fire marshal get to look at and do their specifics as far as occupancy, things like that. It will be based on the International Fire Code for whatever year is adopted whenever the plans come in. So I can't help you with that answer right now. I can try and get back to you on that. I'll have to talk to our fire marshal.
Here's the reason for the question is to make sure that we've got enough parking spaces. Because my next comment is, I know there's been an expression from the residents about parking on Austin Road, and I'd prefer that they not park on Austin Road either side of the street, and that'll be a condition. And so I just want to make sure we've got enough parking spaces for the capacity in the building. Like Suzanne, I too appreciate the fact that, the Majid got together with the HOA. They attempted to work it out. Seems like they've gotten gotten probably as close as we're going to get. So let's make sure that there's no parking on Austin Road, either side of the street.
So one statement about that is that to put up no parking signs, we have to have consent of the property owner that is adjacent to the right-of-way. Alston has consented to that. It's part of the TIA. It's going to be represented in their site plan as well as infrastructure plans when they paint that turn lane. However, the property owner that is on the south side of Alston, that are on the other sides, we do not have their consent to put up no parking signs. We cannot do that at this time.
Okay. Question on the spacing between the trees. What is the spacing? So you had 4-inch caliper trees, you had some landscaping. It met our code. I was just curious what the spacing between the trees was.
Let me look at the plans real quick. They are one every 50 feet.
Okay. By the time you get the canopies on for each tree, that's a reasonable distance. Okay. Include in the CUP that the maintenance of the 8-foot wall both sides is a responsibility of the Majid. They're building it. It's on their property. They've got to maintain it. And then my only other concern is the number of parking spaces balanced with what you have.
Yeah, so I will say that our current parking ratios for places of worship are based on the size of the assembly area. So it's a 1 per 75 square feet parking space is required of the assembly area. We also have some additional parking required for the library and the classrooms. That analysis is broken out on the site plan itself. And that's where the 141 spaces that's required per our code came from. So the occupancy of the building is different from the parking square footage. But I can find I can get with our fire marshal on what the fire code would have as the maximum
Just make sure that you balance it. That's the point. I think you said there were 275 parking spaces. So that's clearly
proposed.
over what would be required. But as we all know, we haven't been really good at estimating what the parking requirements are for certain uses. Suzanne, go ahead.
Thank you. So we're talking about, and Nishad brought this up, the time frame. Phase 1, does that include landscaping the parameter? Because if they don't ever get to phase 2, I don't really think we should see something that's not finished or looks unfinished. So at least from the road, if phase 1 includes everything that looks like it's finished from the road, is that in phase 1?
So phase 1 would be sorry, I'm trying to make sure I'm saying this correctly. It includes all of the shrubbery and trees that are adjacent to the residential area at the south and the north. So that'll be the row of shrubs and all the trees in that area. And it also includes the landscaping that's around the parking that's being installed with phase 1. However, it would not include the landscaping that's being installed with the parking with phase 2. So I'll just go to the page.
You wouldn't install the
I'm sorry.
landscaping before you did the parking. You'd tear it all up.
Right, I'm just talking about the parameter, not the interior parts.
Right, so the phase 1 would include this portion here. It would include this. It would not include this as far as the perimeter landscaping goes.
Okay, I'm just wondering, if they never move forward with phase 2, is it going to look unfinished?
Well, there wouldn't be parking there, so it would just be a
green space.
Green space. It would just be mowed grass.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Carol.
Thank you. So thank you all for your emails, and thank you for being here tonight. I've gotten a few questions about the timing of the fencing, because I know in the document it states the proposed time frame for the project is during the first phase of construction, and I've heard that the first phase could potentially last for a while, because we don't have an exact timeline for that. And to protect adjacent homes from any adverse effect from construction site, noise, and views, this microphone is not doing so good, should the fence be constructed before any other work begins on the site?
So that would be a condition you guys could place. Right now, it is proposed to be part of phase 1, which means that staff will not allow or sign off on a certificate of occupancy until the fence is built. If y'all would like the fence to come earlier, to require that it comes first before any other construction begins, that would be up to y'all to place that condition.
I don't think you can do that.
Okay.
I'm in that business, and until you get the site grading done, the detention and other things worked out, you don't want to put a fence up and then have it get knocked down, so.
That's good. That answers that question. Okay, that's good. That'll answer the resident's question.
I think that's a reasonable requirement, is that by the time that they finish phase one, the masonry wall, with the exception of the gentleman that wants a wood fence, should be up.
Yes.
Okay. And regarding the masonry fence, I know it sounds like it's going to be stucco. And, stucco requires regular inspections and maintenance, and it's prone to develop, cracks over time due to factors like temperature and humidity and extreme weather. And also, brick's lower maintenance, more durable, reduces noise better, has greater longevity, and is more moisture resistant, but doesn't mold or mildew as quickly. So with any consideration been given to having it a brick fence as opposed to stucco? Because, masonry can mean anything from brick to stone to cinder blocks.
So all we have is the letter that's proposed, and that is the CMU sealed with stucco. It would be up to you guys to request a different material.
But Carol, that's the reason that I requested that the maintenance of the wall, both sides, be required as part of the CUP.
Right, yeah, so right, I mean, they're going to maintain it, but that was just that's their decision whether they want, masonry, brick or stucco, but that's just a, consideration when you look at, stucco is probably less expensive up front, but then brick, when you look at maintenance costs, can be cheaper over many years, but I said that's their call, though. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Jennifer.
Hi. I'm under the impression we have class 6 days a week with approximately 60 students with 3 classrooms. And so I'm just wanting us to be mindful of, as I would assume class sizes would grow, we would have more students coming, and that would impact traffic potentially and parking as well. So I just wanted to know if we took that, a potential future projection, into consideration.
I'll let Jason answer.
Yes, council member. As part of the TIA, we asked the consultant to document that. And what they documented is, as you mentioned, currently 60 students and 8 staff members as part of the seminary services. They did say it would grow to 75 students in that. And the consultant documented they're transported by shuttle vans or at off-site dormitories. And that, and they travel in from West Airport, turn on Alston to go into the Mosque.
So it sounds like there's a cap of 75 students, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's what they mentioned is estimated growth for 15 additional students to 75 students.
Put it in the CIP.
I'm sorry. You would like a cap
put
set
the
for 75 students?
Yeah, put the condition in the conditional use permit. And we've done that before on other facilities.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Are we all done? Can I make a motion?
You can.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
A motion by Kermali. Do I have a second?
As long as the CMUs are in there, all the conditionals are met.
Okay. Why don't you do this, Laura? Why don't you read back the conditions?
Yes. So the conditions from, as listed in the ordinance, would be no outdoor speakers shall be permitted on site. There shall be 0-foot candle illumination at the property line. Exterior lighting shall be full cutoff fixtures. The dumpster shall be located away from adjacent residential properties. There would be an addition that the maintenance for both sides of the masonry wall will be on the commercial property owner or the non-residential property owner. And then an additional condition of a cap of 75 students for the seminary school that is operating on site.
You good? A second by Watley. Any other comments? Vote this time, please.
I have a question.
I'm sorry, we can't take questions from So it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Thank you, staff.
Thank you.
I know it's been a long time coming. Item number 7, Item number 7, City Council, City Manager reports. I'm going to move that we defer this. And we're going to return to item 2, closed executive session, 2B. Closed executive session is authorized by 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with 551087. Deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. We're going to go ahead and recess into the council dining room. Thank you all for coming.
We did it.